Mark Waid began to contact the publisher of Antarctic and threaten him. As soon as SJWs found out, as soon as they learned that Zach had a publisher, and a publisher is actual. I mean, it's not just an entity. It's not a corporation. A publisher is, especially in comics, small press comics, a publisher is just a human being, or a couple of human beings, and human beings are easy to harass. Human beings can be harassed, and that's what they did. Mark Waid began to contact the publisher of Antarctic and threaten him. And basically imply. And by the way, I've dealt with Mark Waid. I know how Mark Waid talks to people. I know the way he threatens. I know the language he uses. All right, so let's just look at this. Bleeding Cool. One of the biggest pieces of garbage websites on the internet.
Facts.
Yeah, Bleeding Cool is on its way out. Wait, welcome John Malin. John Malin, good to have you here. The illustrator of Jawbreakers, the book that we are discussing tonight. How are you, John?
Good, Ethan. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Malin Militia.
Yeah. So here's the thing. By the way, we got Nick Rekieta from Rekieta Law coming in here to weigh in on this with us. He'll be in here in a few minutes. Cool. So we're going to really get the full legal. We're going to have real lawyers in here discussing this case.
No, the lawyers aren't real if they're from our side. If they're leftist liberals, then everything they say is facts.
We'll see about that. I don't think that's the way the real world works. Mark Waid, you're also invited if you're listening. Come on in, Mark Waid. And you can talk about this, but they won't. I mean, the truth of the matter is neither party can talk about this. I did send a link to Richard Meyer and said, hey, do you want to come on? And he said, I can't. He's like, I'm not even supposed to talk about this at all right now. Mark Waid actually leaked this to Bleeding Cool. Donald and John and I understand that telling the story is vital. And this is another form of storytelling. So Mark Waid went to the publisher of Antarctic Press, threatened him, said that he was, blah, blah, blah. You're not going to like it if you're not going to like what happens if you continue to publish or think about publishing this harasser, your boy Zach. If you publish harasser, your boy Zach, there will be consequences, and I can't speak to those consequences, but there will definitely be consequences. And basically, the harassment campaign that Mark Waid started left the publisher of Antarctic Press in tears. Donald, if Mark Waid were threatening you, let's say Mark Waid were threatening you, and he said, you're not going to like what happens. What would you think? Would you be afraid of Mark Waid, and would you cry?
I would cry with laughter. I would laugh in his face and tell him to fuck off.
Yes. All right. So anyway, if you were a publisher, not everyone is as tough as Donald. Not everyone is as tough as John Malin. Mark Waid, if he contacts me, I will definitely boot someone to get Mark Waid in here. I would love to do a sequel to my interview with Mark Waid.
Which was good, by the way. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. It was very insightful. I'm very good at interviewing people. Very good.
If he pops on, I'll have to at least do the voice.
What's the voice?
The Mark Waid voice. We always does it, precious.
That's great. So anyway, basically what happened was the publisher of Antarctic Press was terrified. He cried. He called Zach. He says, I've never been abused like this before. We've seen this happen again recently. I mean, this happened to another publisher, Alternative Press, received so much harassment from SJWs on social media and elsewhere that they too, the Peter Samedi broke down into tears and was actually considering suicide. So, this is no small thing. I make fun of Mark Waid because I know Mark Waid. But if you don't know Mark Waid and you're not familiar with him and his George Costanza type persona, you might actually be afraid of Mark Waid. So such is the case here. Antarctic Press called Diversity in Comics, your boy Zach, and said, we can't publish. We can't just make it all stop. if I can't publish you, if I do, then this is going to get worse. So I'm not going to, and hopefully all of this harassment will stop. There was a little bit of a back and forth. The problem with being a fence sitter is that you displease everyone. That's why I kick down fences, boys. I kick them down.
Kick them all down.
Yeah. Welcome, Art T Bear, to the chat. Nice to have you.
Hey guys.
Hey, what's up, Art?
I wouldn't miss this for the world. I said this from the beginning when this came out that Zach has to sue. He has to.
Well, he is going to sue. He is suing. He's currently suing. So Mark Waid laughed about this. Of course, Zach did a bunch of videos where he said, I have to sue you. You can't do this. This is tortious interference. You got between me and a contract I had with another individual. This is illegal, and I have to sue you. Now, Zach has threatened lawsuits in the past. He's wanted to sue people for slander and defamation and this and that, and he just never really has done it. He never really, the amount of money that this costs, is prohibitive to most people. And, for God's sake, this is something that has to be considered very, very carefully. If you were to lose a lawsuit like this, you could lose a lot of money. I wish we could actually set up a GoFundMe to pay for this. Can you imagine that? I don't want to do it because it'll be like I've done too many fundraisers for other people. But I would love to set up a GoFundMe to pay these legal fees. I think everybody would want to get involved. But Zach finally decided he had no choice. And by the way, I had many conversations with him in private. Either sue someone or don't, but don't talk about it so much. Don't run your mouth and say you're going to commit it. You're going to, engage in a lawsuit. You're going to sue someone and then not do it. It's just, you look like a paper tiger. So either do it or don't talk about it. One of the two. And Zach said, are you saying do it? You won't do it, pussy. And I said, in so many words, you won't do it, pussy. Here we go. Richard Meyer sues Mark Waid over tortious interference with contract and defamation. This is a big, big historic deal. Historic deal. Now, this is, of course, written from Bleeding Cool's perspective. Mark Waid decided that he was going to go ahead. Mark Waid was served with this lawsuit last Friday. He was laughing for months. Well, nobody sued me yet. Mark Waid knew what he did was illegal. He knew what he did was trouble. He disappeared from Twitter. He disappeared for months from social media. He made a bunch of stupid mistakes. He appeared at conventions and talked about this and said some things that were manifestly untrue. Now, your boy Zach finally did serve him with that lawsuit. It did take a couple of months. He was preparing it. He was sending me info along the way. He was showing me that, I think he was trying to reassure me because I did say to him, you won't do it, pussy, which is what you say to a Marine. He always says in his videos, he's like, this is how Marines get each other to do stuff. They say, you won't do it, pussy. And then you have to do it. You have to do it. So he was sending me stuff and I was kind of still like, wow, is this really gonna? No, it did happen. Mark Waid was served. And he panicked. He started sending people things on Facebook like, can you send me more evidence of Zach calling me names? So he thinks like,
you really think that will help him? That has nothing to do with them calling another company and asking them not to publish a book. The dude could call you whatever he wanted. You can't go and interfere with his contract with the company. That's completely unrelated.
That is correct. So basically Mark Waid's defense is going to be, he's going to stand before a judge and go, but he's an asshole. And that's why I'm legally allowed to get in and interfere and destroy the agreement, the contract he had with another party. Judge, can't you see he's an asshole? We'll see how that goes. That should be good.
Waid is on record in several different locations, not just like, him saying this, but in print, including on Bleeding Cool, stating that he contacted Antarctic Press with the intent to get them not to publish this book. That's what he has said in multiple different locations on his own, by himself. Nobody made him do it. So all you got to do is go to court and just show him that. I mean, that's effectively what you have to do. He's already stated he contacted this company with the intent to get them not to publish the book. You essentially proved it. Right.
That's correct.
There.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. So I'm waiting to see these people who are so certain that the case is just a loss, because Mark Waid got, and this is a real name, Mark Zaid. As his
We'll get
name,
into that. We'll get into that.
right?
But
I
wait,
thought that was fake, but
yeah,
I had
that
to
was
read the article twice to make
Bizarro Mark Waid.
Yeah.
The comics industry is under the impression that, well, you know, Richard Meyer is a despicable human being, according to us. He's a terrible person. So, of course, we can do whatever we want to him. We can engage in illegal behavior.